like a safer place for my kids, like, and like I'm like smack in the middle of it. I love it, and I get fucking paid to do it. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, there's plenty of stuff in my life that doesn't work, but like this is just like, I'm just so grateful, and I'm like, I just like, you talk to my kids, and they're like, Dad, like, all you talk with blockchain.
Jeremy, let's just jump right into it if you're all right. This is great.
Game on, Brady. Let's do it.
Sarah and I are ready. Good. Hey, Matt Davio with Sarah Herring, and we've got Jeremy Epstein with us today. Jeremy, where are you coming to us from today? Where are you located today?
I'm in the world headquarters of Never Stop Marketing, which is also known as, well, I tell people actually I live in ground zero for the Twilight Zone because I live like 4 miles from the White House.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of a crazy time in this little corner of the world.
Yeah.
But
people actually live there. I feel like everyone is bussed into Washington D.C. somehow.
No, that's
like
a very
transit system of just like picking up strangers and stuff, right?
That's a very astute observation, Sarah. You are many. It's very rare to find people who are born and bred in the DC area. Much more like it's very transient, very international, as you would expect. A lot of every 2 years we get a whole turnover of people, whatever. But there is a cadre of people who are here. My mom was actually born in DC, and I have a bunch of friends who still live here. But you're right. For the most part, you don't find too many like native-born Washingtonians compared to the rest of the DC population. But that's whatever.
And you're like moving, and just so that our audience knows, Jeremy he's been referred to as a shot of espresso, which everyone knows that I am dead inside because I've been traveling for 2 weeks and I'm so jet lagged. And Jeremy just immediately jumps right in. As soon as we get him on, I'm like, hey, can I get a shot of espresso from you, Jeremy? And he immediately jumps into what I think is what we're all trying to talk about, which is that we are in this incredible time right now, this totally unique time where we're changing the world. So like for those who missed it, Jeremy, just like bring them up to speed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just feel, first of all, I have to say I'm really honored to be on the show with you guys. Like it means a lot that you think I have anything worthwhile to say, because most days I wake up thinking I have no idea what I'm talking about. So that'll actually get confirmed right now, but whatever. No, what I was saying is like, I just feel so fortunate because like we are witnessing, and I have a blog post coming out about this like later this week, but we are witnessing the birth of like an entirely new way of human governance where it's going to be more fair. It's going to be more equitable. We're going to have more people who can realize their potential, who can be able to pursue their opportunities. Like the vision, if you go to the Never Stop Marketing website and you Google on my blog, like brand platform, the vision for Never Stop Marketing is a world where people get paid to do what they want to do anyway. And I think that blockchain and crypto is the technological vehicle to make that possible. And I know it sounds crazy. Like most days I think it sounds crazy, so I totally get it. But like, I just feel so fortunate to be, trying to create this world that's safer. I have 3 kids. Like I love technology, but I don't want my kids living in a world that's controlled by Zuckerberg, Bezos, Larry, and Sergey. Now they're going to hunt me down, of course. But like, I don't want, I don't want that. And so like, I've spent 20 plus years as a marketer, specifically in the technology realm, specifically focused on how do you get like really new, innovative ideas across the chasm so other people see the potential. And like, I'm so excited to be able to just sort of contribute what I've got and work with amazing people to sort of bring that decentralized future to the present as quickly as possible. Like the technology, the math is just freaking mind-boggling, and I get paid to do it. Like, oh my God, like this is so amazing. The only downside is my kids are so tired of like you sit at the Epstein family dinner table, and like after we do the basics, we either talk about crypto or marketing. And like my kids, like it's insane. Like here's 2 stories, and I promise to shut up after. Well, I don't promise, but I'll do my best. 2 things. So number 1, I have 3 kids, 14, 12, and 10. So I tell people, like when I do a lot of keynote speaking for like Fortune 2000 audiences, and like I try to explain crypto token economics to them, which admittedly like are very challenging. Like most days I'm like, this is tough, but I'm like, look, I understand this is challenging. And then I put up a picture of my 4th grader, and I'm like, you see this beautiful girl? I said, I understand that crypto economics is tough, but if you go to that link on the screen, you'll listen to a 10-minute podcast where I explain token economics to her and she gets it. So unless you're not smarter than my fourth grader, I mean, admittedly, I have the smartest fourth grader in the world, but unless you're not smarter than my fourth grader, like, you can get this. And my sixth grader last year, he calls me up, he's like, Dad, we just read Lord of the Flies and we have a group assignment and we have to, design a utopia. And I was thinking, like, we could have the utopia, like, use a blockchain. And I was like, okay, buddy, how do you think that would work? And while I'm walking through the airport at LAX on whatever, he's like explaining it to me. And I was like, yeah, I think that sounds about right. So he proceeds to give a PowerPoint presentation to his sixth grade class. Like, nobody had heard of it. The teacher didn't know what he was talking, but he basically outlines how this utopia work on blockchain. I was like, I think my work here is done. I'll see. I was like, oh, I'm done. So anyway, whatever. That was a lot, but I just, I love this stuff, and it's just so amazing to be able to share the passion and get more and more people involved in the movement.
The kiddos are coming. Well, I think something that's so funny that I've been dealing with a lot in the last 6 months, especially outside of just the crypto space, is actually that the world of marketing has evolved so much too in the course of the last, say, 10 years. Obviously, this sort of peer-to-peer marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing versus these more traditional models has totally taken over, and I think has also revolutionized and put a lot of things into the hands of the people in the same way that, I think blockchain has. So the marriage of these two spaces, the blockchain and marketing, seems like a match made in heaven, but also, from a logistics standpoint, what does that look like? How are you making some of these connections?
Yeah, phenomenal. That's a really deep question. Like last July, this is a little shame. Last July, I published a book called The CMO Primer for the Age of Blockchains. It's like 70 pages long, and it investigates how will the arrival of crypto technologies affect things like advertising, loyalty, data management, customer experience, whatever. It has forewords by the CMOs of NASDAQ and Dun & Bradstreet in there, and it has some vendors as well. And it explores this exact question because, like, I was a history major, so as a student of history and as a student of marketing, I've been asking myself, well, wait a second, there's certain fundamentals of marketing that never change. I call them Peter Drucker marketing, like, your customer, all that kind of stuff. That's important. That's been since like painting on the walls of caves. But with the arrival of each new technology, there's a fundamental shift in the execution of marketing. So like, newspapers increased reach, TV made it visual, internet made it faster, social made it two-way, mobile made it location independent, all that stuff. So I was like, all right, well, what the heck's going to happen with this blockchain freight train that I think is going to happen? And that's what this whole book is about. So like a couple things like that just pop up in terms of like, well, for example, if you have self-sovereign identity, what happens to CRM systems? You're like, well, imagine going to a marketer at a Fortune 500 company, like, hi, you're going to have to do a job, but you're not going to have your CRM system. Like, they'd shoot themselves. But that reality could happen, number one. But number two is, imagine, paying for people's attention, like Brave and some of these other, like, basic attention tokens. They're going to be trying to, like, you can't just assume attention's free. You have to pay for people's attention. You have to pay for data. Well, what happens when big data silos go away? Because now the data is in the blockchain, right? So everyone has access to the data. So all of a sudden now it moves from who has the data to who can get insights from the data faster. So like, you're going to have to develop new skill sets, and that's sort of the existing stuff. The next ebook I'm working on is coming out at the end of March, and it's basically like, okay, it's called the Decentralized Marketing Organization, and we have contributions from like 15 of the top 100 crypto projects on the planet. It's like 90 pages, but it's all about like, okay, how do you drive innovation where you have 100% influence and 0% authority as sort of you don't call it a chief marketing officer, but a lead marketer, right? How do you incentivize people, or how do you keep people who are naturally incentivized because they own your tokens to go out and evangelize? But how do you do it in a way that's consistent with brand and consistent with messaging, where everyone's like, hey, I can do whatever they want because I'm an owner? Yes, you are, but it would help us if we're all actually, playing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, as opposed to you're playing like Def Leppard and I'm playing like, I don't know why I said Def Leppard, and you're playing Aerosmith or Brahms Lullaby, like then it's a cacophony, it doesn't work. So I think your question is totally spot on, and I'm like, I don't have the answers, but I do try to explore it with like, okay, loyalty, advertising gets totally disrupted because the advertising supply chain, like if you studied it for more than 4 seconds, it's a total cluster, right? Loyalty, like very rigid, like why can't I take my Marriott points or United miles and redeem them wherever I want. Like, you should be able to do that because that's an asset, right? That's mine that right now you own as the brand. I should be able to own that, right? So my data is mine. It's not yours, and I should be able to rent it to you and get compensated. Like, every time my Fitbit syncs or my Nest thermostat syncs, I should get paid in some sort of crypto token for that because that's value I'm contributing. And that's going to happen. You're going to get like a free Nest thermostat that somebody's, or whatever the Nest is, a Nest-like thermostat, someone's going to send it to you and like, hey, we're going to pay you a crypto token because we know that the value of having all that data from the houses is going to be worth it to us, and we'll pay you for that because we can leverage that instead of you actually buying and then paying for the service on top of it. Those models are going to go away. It's going to be awesome.
Jeremy, I think it's interesting because I've said the same thing for years. The CRM piece is only as good as the garbage you put in it, right? And then the other piece that I think, and salespeople are predominantly terrible at putting in the right information that marketing needs. But what you're saying is everybody on the team basically needs to be in sync and sending the same message, even though there is this decentralized model. So that's where I think this big data, becomes it really becomes the, to use the Moneyball example, right? Everybody's got to become the Billy Bean of their organization, who's going to own that and drive that. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, Matt, I think I use the Moneyball example a lot. I totally love that. And oh, by the way, I should compliment you for your hairstyle because I think it really works for me. Like,
when he took the headphones off, I was like, are we doing some kind of a like matchy here?
Yeah, no, it's
who wore it better?
I'm going to send you an article, Matt, that I found once upon a time that said, men, you need to, I don't know if you shave your head or you just have like a little bit less on top, but you should go with the shave because there's an article.
Oh, yeah, no,
okay, good. Yeah. Someday,
you go completely down, Jeremy?
Oh, totally. 100%.
This is number 3.
Yeah, dude, that's too long. You got to get shorter than that because there's an article that said men who shave their heads are perceived as like more confident and more intelligent because what the psychology of it is that people see you and they're like, oh, that dude's got nothing to hide, so he must know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll play that card all day. Like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. If you think I do, that's okay with me, right? So, yeah, no, I think you're totally right about like that. And I think and it's important, like if there was one thing, and I know we've been talking a lot, I'm talking 100 miles an hour, this is the speed of crypto, so you have to go fast, right? Like, if there's one thing I want marketers, like serious marketers, like I'm of the opinion that most people in marketing are not serious marketers. And I'm sorry, it's just a bias. But I think there's the students of the game, and that's the people who are going to listen to this podcast who are dedicating. So I appreciate the service you're providing to the community and the people who are passionate about making themselves better. But the one thing I would say, just from my vantage point and whatever, like for what it's worth, is I think the skill set of the crypto marketer is going to be very different than what we have in marketing today. It's going to be an evolution. Like social media, extended it or sort of changed the game to make it much more community focused, and crypto is going to make it like hyper community focused. It's already happening. That's number one. And number two is like your skill set. Like to your point, is like you have to be able to analyze data. You have to, like, I think pivot tables are the greatest thing ever invented. Like you have to be able to understand how to look at data. You have to be able to understand how to inspire people over video and in writing. Like you can't just tell people what to do. You have to be able to communicate that passion and that energy. So you have to be pretty good comms, but not like fake, like corporate PR BS comms, like real human, authentic. Like whether you're talking to 1 or 1,000 people, they need to feel like, dude, I'm having a cup of coffee with you and I'm excited and whatever. And like, those are some of the skill sets that I think, and you have to be definitely more technical. Like you don't have to be a world-class coder, but you have to understand how programming works. Like these are things like game theory you need to understand, because if you don't understand mechanism design and behavioral economics, like you're going to leave a lot of opportunity on the table because you're not going to understand how to leverage smart contracts and tokens. I'll shut up.
Okay, so game theory, I love it. Talk about how you use game theory in your everyday world from a marketing standpoint, Jeremy, because I think this is great information. And matter of fact, it's one that anybody that is interested in business in general, study game theory. I always say, and they're like, what do you mean game theory? Like playing video games? I'm like, well, maybe you can throw that into it, but give us your definition of game theory and how you utilize it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best classes I took in college was game theory, and talk about Prisoner's Dilemma, which is sort of the classic, right? And I think books by like Dan Ariely, and if you have a ton of patience, like Kahneman and Tversky type stuff. But like, I couldn't. It was just too much for me. I had to like, it's just like kill me. But basically, it's like game theory is essentially how will people respond. You know, there are two parts. So the first thing is mechanism design, which is like, how do you design the game? So let's just, assuming we have even an international audience will get this. I'm going to use the football. You know, let's use the basketball analogy because then it's a little bit more international. Given that I'm sure you have a global audience, right? Mm-hmm. Although I like football, but whatever. And when I say football, I mean American football, not football, because I'm trying to be more. Anyway, so mechanism design says let's establish the rules of the field, or the rules of the game. So the court's 94 yards, the basket's worth 2 points, except for behind this line, which is worth 3 points. Each player gets 6 fouls. Each quarter is 12 minutes long. You know, you can't do this, you can't. That's setting up the rules. Everyone understands the rules. Now we're going to play. Game theory then is how do you respond in a given situation? Like, okay, if you guys are going to press us the entire game, then we're going to respond with these players. Well, if you're going to respond with those players, if you think we're going to press, then we're actually going to do this. And so you have to be able to think, how will your community respond to incentives? Because at the heart of this whole thing, what makes this thing so awesome, aside from solving the double spend problem, which is ridiculously awesome, but what makes this is if you can figure out how to bake incentives and disincentives directly into the protocol, right, into the technology, then you have the opportunity to create a scenario where the actions of a self-interested individual actually serve the community at the same time. And then you avoid that tragedy of the commons problem of like everyone grazing their sheep in the same field and then there's no sheep, you know, grass left or whatever. So game theory basically says, how do you structure, you know, your technology or your behavior? I mean, a lot of people do game theory without realizing, like a sales guy, and my heart was like breaking as you were talking about how sales guys are horrific about putting data into CRM systems, because I established, you know, we've all experienced that firsthand, right? But like salespeople do this all the time, which is like, okay, if I call the customer or the prospect today, I just had the meeting with it yesterday, will he or she think that I'm actually too aggressive and therefore I don't want it? But if I don't call soon, if I wait too long, then he thinks I'm not interested, or like dating or whatever. Back in my day before we had Tinder, this is what you did. Now I don't actually know how it works. But I think there's other rules right now that I'm not up to speed on those, which I shouldn't be, because then my wife would be really unhappy that I was like up to date on Tinder stuff, because that would be bad. But so I think the game theory is like trying to think about how will individuals respond to given what's the most likely response of a set of people to a specific action, that given all the probable outcomes, how will they respond? So you have to think of, like, you know, for example, here's one that like I just got approached with. I have a vendor who's helping me with just sort of like my SEO and like tweaking my website and stuff, because it's like shoemaker's children kind of stuff for me. So he sends me notes, like, Jeremy, you know, if you upload like the list of your newsletter and your blog subscribers to LinkedIn, then, you know, it can more rapidly target people, whatever. Now, I know the natural instinct for most marketers is like, oh, I'll do that. I'm like, I can't do that, because if I do that, then I violated the implicit trust with my community. And the only thing I have going for me, a brand is basically a trust mark, right? The only thing I have going for me is trust. And odds are these people will never, ever find out. And doesn't matter. The point is, unless you live in Equifax, in which case they'll find out. But like, you know, you have to think, like, what if one person finds out? You know, one of the people, they see it, whatever. Like, but that's not, I mean, leaving aside the fact that it's the wrong thing to do because of violation of privacy, but even if you leave that, you're like, okay, well, what if one person finds out? Then they're like, yeah, Jeremy talks about privacy, talks about this, but yet he uploaded his stuff to LinkedIn. He's a fraud. Bang, done, over, you know? So like, it's just not worth it. But like, That's a super small example, but like, that's a game theoretical outcome. Like, yes, that could happen, but the cost of that exposure, you know, again, leaving out the side the fact that it's just the wrong thing to do, which is certainly something we should all consider. I wish more of us considered it, and myself included. I'm not far from an angel, as my wife will tell you on a daily basis. But basically, thinking this through, I'm like, wait a second, if that actually happened, it's like why I tell people to pay their crypto taxes, man.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks. I don't want to do it, but like, and I live in DC. I know how slow the government is. Like, it's no surprise to me. But in 5 years, the IRS is going to have a way to like scan the blockchain, like, Jeremy, we tracked it all together. US $50,000. I'm like, ew, whoops, you know, like, oh, and by the way, since you didn't declare it and whatever, blah, blah, now you owe us $150,000. Like, oh shit, you know. So like, just pay your taxes now. Now that being said, it's ridiculously difficult to track all your stuff. So I'm just like, here's my best guess effort. If you come after me, fine, I can deal. But like, you know, just thinking these three things. If you try to like outsmart people,
so let me ask you how that applies to the crypto space, right? Because it's the Wild West, right? And you're dealing with a lot of things and a lot of new technologies, companies with blockchain. How would you recommend some of these people that are rushing to be ICO, and ICO now some say has a negative connotation. So
yeah.
What types of things should people that have authentic, transparent technologies, you know, what is the, you know, do you have some key steps that they should be using to, you know, brand and market to their potential customers, you know, because we're talking multiple customers. You got your internal customers, you have your external, and, you know, there's all these things going on in traditional marketing. And then you have this Wild West where people are in a rush to raise money, and maybe they're getting involved with the wrong people. You know, just to your point, you know, like you said with LinkedIn, don't break that trust. So can you give us kind of some, you know, some real top down, like what should people be doing?
Yeah. First of all, am I like talking too much for your podcast? Like sometimes we're good.
It's not about us.
It's about you, not about us.
Oh, I don't want to be that self-centered. I'm trying to be more other-centered. For my wife, apparently I need to work on that.
No, we're here to steal all the information from you.
Fantastic. You know, I want to have the dialogue, and sometimes I get like all ranty. You know, I get passionate. Again, that coffee I just had is super strong. I drink these 2 brands that are like, like I tell people, I'm 44 years old. I'm married. I got 3 kids. I drive a minivan. I'm a vegan. I don't drink alcohol. I got nothing going for me, so I max out on the caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Phenomenal question. That's an absolutely phenomenal question. Look, I'm going to come back to like the fact that, you know, you and I, Matt, I think are a little bit older. Sarah, she looks like she's like super young, not too young, but like young enough, you know. So I don't know how much experience and worldliness she has, just because she's so like, she's vivacious and private and whatever. But maybe she's read about this stuff in the past. The way I look, I tell people this is my 3rd rodeo, man. I was in Internet 1.0. I was in social media, and now it's like, now I feel like I'm watching the movie for the 3rd time. Yeah, there are a few twists, but basically, like, you know what the plot's gonna be, and it happens a lot faster with crypto already. Like, that surprised me. But the way I think this plays out is the same way it always plays out, which is the con men and the con women get railroaded. They get, yeah, some of them are going to make their money. And that's whatever. That's annoying, but that's kind of the part. You just have to focus on doing the right things and playing your game and be like, look at Jeff Bezos. Like, I don't want him to control the world, but the guy's done it the right way. Like, he's just set, he focused, and he's like, I don't care about the naysayers. This is what I'm going to do. And he just stayed the course. And I think the advice I would say is stay the course. Remember that the brand, like, that's so, and you know, like, the brand is not like, people are like, oh, we need to do branding, like put these colors and logos and stuff, like, that's nice. That's not the brand. The brand is, how do people feel when they hear about you? Do they trust you? Do they want to engage with you? And that's not a one moment in time. You can't just like whitewash it and put paint. It's like every single, I mean, the company's called Never Stop Marketing for a reason. It's not because it's because it's a mantra. It's a philosophy. It's a way of life. And when you say never stop marketing, it means I've never stopped focusing on the needs of the market, on what other people want, and on building those relationships one drip at a time, one step over years. And if you can focus on that, amazing things will happen. This is going to sound crazy, I make 1,800 birthday calls a year. Okay, I called my entire network, and I've been doing it for 20 plus years. So every year I do it. And people are like, wow, but the thing is, like, what's so, now I get people yelling at me like, Jeremy, you didn't call me early enough. Like, I'm like, sorry, it's like 9 o'clock at night, I had a busy day. Like, what do you want from me? Like, whatever. Like, you know, whatever. It's like, But those things, like I've seen this. I had an amazing CEO back when I was in my 20s named Paul Semino, and he had the most amazing network. And I was like, Paul, dude, that's amazing. He's like, it's all about the network. And I'm like, dude, I want that network right now. And he's like, Jeremy, you can't. This takes years, man. You just have to nurture it. It's like a garden. And that's just a personal brand. And that's what world-class brands do. And that's what world-class companies do. And like Amazon or Nike or Apple or all these guys just do it one interaction. And they have screw-ups, and that's okay. It's how you respond to those screw-ups. So my advice to all these guys and women who, admittedly more guys, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there on the women front, which is good. My advice to them is like, I understand the temptation to like take the shortcuts. I understand the temptation to like grab the money while it seems like it's all out there. And if you're a con man or you're just like a criminal, have at it, right? But if you're really serious about like the proverbial putting the dent in the universe, and you really want to, you know, in the words of Jim Collins, do something that's built to last, like think, as my CEO at Sprinkler named Raji Thomas, he's amazing on so many levels. He'd always say, think future back, right? What do you want to be in the future? And then behave in a way that's consistently lined up, working backwards so that you get there. Well, if you violate trust and you cut corners now, like, dude, this shit's gonna catch up with you. And like, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. That's fine. But like, keep that. And my advice is just like, do the right thing for your community, serve them, add value to them. And it's hard because you have like money concerns, you've got pressure. Like, I understand all of that. I really do. Like, we've all been in tough spots. But like, that's the thing I would say is just ask yourself, am I adding enough value to my community? Like, I wake up every single morning paranoid, literally paranoid that I'm not doing enough for the projects I'm advising, the clients I'm serving. Like, that's where my stress comes. Like, am I doing enough? Am I earning what they're paying me, you know, to do it? And if I'm like constantly worried about it, you know? And that's why they all fire me, because I never.
I feel you, but then I think, living in that anxiety, I have it all the time too. And then I think that, well, generally I think it makes for overachievers, but I think in this crypto space, something that I've been noticing. So for example, a lot of ICOs are going the route of like, we'll give you a certain amount of token for free if you retweet, tweet, you know, post us in your Telegram, these kind of things, which I think has got to be a lot of work to track and take care of, but they are providing a value right away. But then there is this, kind of flip side of it, which you're talking about, which I was just talking to someone the other day about, which is that now that we are all sort of becoming influencers in our own right, and potentially we are all marketers then also in our own right, it's terrifying sometimes to, for example, like what happened with BitConnect. Some people obviously probably knew that it was terrible, but some people I think were genuinely thinking this is the best thing ever and selling it as such, and then now forever they are branded as terrible. So, you know, and I've been approached by some ICOs recently, you know, wanting me to say that I love it and say that I'm excited about it or whatever. And for me, I'm like, I don't know if I have time to read like all the white papers and get all the things going down, but it's in this time where we as consumers are also, I think, providers of the marketing and the information. And so what are some of the ways that you would recommend figuring out, like, should I retweet this coin? Yeah, I want free coins. Like, that sounds great. But like, and also, what are your thoughts on Telegram? Because everyone keeps telling me like, you need to get on Telegram, you need to do Telegram. But I'm like, where does one even start with that? Like, I just like get on Telegram and then I'm connected.
So, okay, there's so much goodness in what you just said. Like, I have to try to unpack it. So the first thing I always say to people is I always like to tell people we're all in marketing. It's just that some of us know it. So I think you've actually hit an important theme there. That's number one. The second thing about is, you know, it's interesting you talk about sort of getting tokens for social activity. Like at a high level, you're like, oh, that's cool. I've engaged my audience. I was actually thinking about this. I just wrote a blog post this morning that's coming out, I think, on Friday because I pre-published. And it's basically like I'm speculating on whether this whole phenomenon of the token airdrop is actually a good idea or not, right? Because like I actually went to one of my wallets today and I looked at it, and then I was looking at one of the tokens because I couldn't remember where one of my tokens, which one of my wallets it was in. And then I went to it and I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I have all these other tokens. Like, where are these coming? I'm like, oh, I got airdropped, right? And then I was like, my reaction was, okay, now I just have to unload these things or just ignore them. And I'm like, this is just annoying. Like I get the idea of like, oh, you just sent me like $5 worth of token, and I'm not deriding free money, but it's like you sent me $5, like, but now I would have to like go read your project, figure out if I really like it, should I invest more, whatever. I'm like, screw that. I already figure out the ones that I like. Like, this is just a hassle. And I'm like, if you really just want to like, you know, increase, like, so now I'm going to end up like hodling these things, which I guess is good, but in that case, why don't you just burn the tokens in the first place? Like, that's kind of stupid, you know? So I'm like, I wonder if like, it's like the guy handing out like flyers for the Subway shop on the corner of 5th Avenue and 67th Street. You're like, assuming there's a Subway shop there, but you know what I mean? Like, whatever. You're like, is that real value? And it's like, okay, if you just tweet something out, like, is that real value? Like, I think actually, like, that's being penny wise and pound foolish. Or sorry, Satoshi wise and Bitcoin foolish, where you're doing that, because what's going to happen? Thank you. Because where you're going to suffer is in your reputational risk. Because remember, at a certain point, there's going to be a reputational, blockchain, immutable, verifiable score attached to your profile. And do you really like? And that score is going to be worth a lot. And I'll tell you why. I was at a conference last week. I honestly still have no idea how I got accepted to go to this conference, but I had to apply. I had someone vouch for me, and it was not cheap to go. Okay, even in this crypto universe, it was not cheap to go. And it was amazing. It was like, it's called the Satoshi Roundtable. I'll send you the link to this article I wrote on VentureBeat all about it. It was amazing. Like, but I mean, I was the poorest guy in the room by like a factor of 10, right? It was amazing. But here's what's so powerful. Like, these guys are like, they're not motivated by the money. They're motivated by the global change. They just now have a boatload of money to do it with. But it was really interesting. I met one guy, and he's like, I know your name. Why do I know your name? And we started talking. He's like, you know, I saw some of the video reviews that you do, and I liked them. And it struck me as like, you take this stuff seriously. Because when I advise an offer to be an advisor, like what I try to do is say, look, here's why I'm advising this or I agreed to be an advisor for this project. Here's why I think they could be good. Here's some of the questions I have. And like, some people could say, oh, it's kind of a CYA, which I guess in some respects it is, but it's like, I don't know enough to be able to say like, for sure, this is the greatest thing of all time. But I'm like, here's why I like it. Here's how I arrived at the conclusion. And the guy said to me, he's like, Jeremy, you know, I've seen your pictures on websites, and that and that informed, you know, me. And basically that's what allowed me to make an investment decision. And we're talking, for him, was like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And I was like, I should charge more for my advisory services, but we'll leave that aside.
Well, plus you have the shaved head.
Yeah, well, of course. And that's exactly. So I'm just like, wow, there's a concrete example of reputation delivering value back to a project. Now, imagine, and right now it's totally messed up and whatever. We know it's the total Wild West. It's totally crazy. But my fundamental belief is, if you think about that now, when the day comes where these things start getting locked in, your value, like, it's going to be exponentially, like, whatever you're foregoing today in tokens, you're going to make 10 to 100x down the road if you're willing to wait. And sadly, and I'm the guy, I also binge eat like other people, so I'm guilty as everybody. But if, that instant gratification is the problem. And if you can sort of say, you know what, I don't really believe in this project, like, it's not worth sacrificing my long-term reputation for like 10 tokens or whatever they're giving me to tweet out. Like, it's not. And you know what? If you have the ability or the self-restraint to hold off and only support those projects that you like, yes, I can honestly say to my mom, my spouse, my whatever, that, or whoever, significant other friends, like, you should invest in this, and here's why. You might lose all your money anyway, but here's why. Then go for it. But if you're just like, hey, free money, I'll just go grab whatever I can. I just think it's just, like I said, Satoshi wise, Bitcoin foolish, or Gwei wise, Ether foolish.
I love it. And talk to me about Telegram. And is that something that you see as a way to utilize the future of crypto marketing, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, I'm on Telegram. I've migrated more. I wish Telegram had video. That's the one thing I would ask for. With their $2 billion,
that's why I keep saying, I'm like, what am I gonna do there? Like, I'm a video person, so everyone's like, you gotta get on if you want to, like, know what's going on. And I'm like, but I want to watch a video.
There's a lot of I've migrated. I'm in a lot of Telegram ones, and some of them are just noise, but like, there's a lot of good market intel in there, and there's a lot of good things. And I think it's just become sort of the crypto standard kind of IM platform. And, I mean, I still like Skype for video, but Skype, the rest of the time, Skype's a disaster. WhatsApp a little bit, but then you're feeding the Facebook kind of thing. And, Slack, I guess people have moved off of Slack to secure. So whatever. I mean, there are a lot of good things. You get invited. There's a lot of noise, but you know, it was interesting. There was this one blog post I wrote by the guy. I think he did an ICO. I think his token was STK, like stack or something. I can't remember, but he wrote like lessons from doing an ICO, and it was like one of them was that they discovered that as they invested in community management capabilities on Telegram, that they discovered basically a near one-to-one conversion rate between Telegram people and ICO contributors. And after that, they're like, psh, and they went all in, and they're like, forget everything else, we're just getting Telegram. It's a lot of work. There are going to be tools that sit on top of this eventually that allow you to manage it at scale, like something like a sprinkler for crypto stuff. That'll happen. But right now, it's very kind of like, roll your sleeves up, sort of get your hands.
Well, don't you think also part of the Telegram panache, I think, is it kind of became the place for experts to kind of co-locate and start talking about all these different ICOs, coins, etc. Right?
Yeah, I think is a function of the security.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, and I have to give them props. Like I talked to the CEO of Telegram a couple months ago. I mean, like I think what they did really well is like, it works. It's hard to like search through, but like it's very fast compared to everything else. The people like the stickers; those are kind of fun, like a fun thing. You can't really like manage everything, and there aren't subgroups like what Slack had with the sort of subgroups was good. They don't have that, but yeah, I mean, I think generally like the thing kind of works pretty well for now compared to the others. So yeah, I think it's just sort of I think more. My hunch says people move to Telegram because they're like, this way we can do stuff and not have the SEC or the police track us down. That would be my guess, but I don't know.
What tools are you finding exciting, new, and fresh in your box today? What kind of things are you playing with that you were using more than you were, say, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, right? There's always something that kind of takes over, I think, on the marketing side. So
like general tools or just any kind of crypto specific stuff?
How about both, or one? Either one.
Well, I'm actually excited. I met this guy. So I run a quarterly trip to Crypto Valley in Switzerland, where we get together like 35, 40 people from around the world. You have to apply. We read your application because it's like the best college class you ever took because we want diversity, right? We didn't want 35 VCs or 35 developers in a room. So we have people from like 15 countries, all age groups. Gender's been tough, but we've made progress. We had 1 woman, then 4, and we got 6 on the 3rd trip. So we're feeling pretty good about that. But we have like people who've been in crypto for 7 years and people who've been in crypto for 7 weeks. But it's just this desire to explore decentralization. The reason I bring it up is you meet these amazing people. And you get plugged into the whole like Crypto Valley, Zook, Switzerland ecosystem and all that stuff. But you meet amazing people there as well. One of them I met is one of the like, there aren't that many world-class like smart contract blockchain developers. One of them came on the trip. So we started talking and I said, one of the things that I want to do for this trip is if you attend, I want to send you a proof of attendance token. That's like, hey, and it's locked in your wallet. So he built for me, it's very rudimentary, but I would argue it's the first blockchain marketing tool of its type where I can take an Excel spreadsheet of everyone's Ethereum wallet address, upload into a tool, pay for it with gas, and have a mass email of tokens based on that. It's almost like it's like mail merge for token distribution against a specific. It's like MailChimp for token distribution, basically.
That's
and we
cool.
built it. So I'm super excited about that. Like that's very cool. I actually am now very interested in like I have a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in. Like I'm actually so I just signed on full disclosure as an advisor to a project called ARK and ARK. They're like number 44 in the on the list, but we have to work on their story, and it's a lot of work. And like that's one of the things I stress about, like how do I help these guys? But the idea, like I think what they've done by making it super easy to make for whatever programming language to be able to, like, as they say, point-click blockchain, to basically spin up a blockchain very, very quickly and start building on top of it as opposed to spending like a month and a half learning Solidity. So I'm really, really excited about the fact that they're shortening the time to sort of blockchain creation value for developers around the world, which I think is going to be great. We just have to get the word out. So that's another thing. I'm also really fascinated by decentralized exchanges because, like, the Bittrex, Bitfinex, Binance guys of the world, like it's like anathema to the very sort of core philosophy of crypto. So when you have like the 0x protocol and you have like Ether Delta, which is admittedly slow and not that pretty and needs a lot of love, or Radar Relay, which is definitely nicer but still needs a little bit of UX experience, like those types of things starting to evolve, I think that's really cool because it helps bring, like right now with these big centralized exchanges, like we're seeing this gravitational pull towards the people with the big money and the whales, and some of that won't change, but I'd like to be able to democratize that. So I started to play around with those a little bit more. They still have a ways to go. Telegram, as we talked about, I think is really powerful. And then yeah, I guess I still use Gmail, believe it or not. You know, that's good. And Zoom, you guys are good on that one. And I mean, I guess, I don't know, a couple apps like Blockfolio is really good. People like that. I like it too, although it's hard to keep. I wish I could automate the process of keeping that up. Oh, and the other one I love is the Exodus wallet. That is phenomenal. Those guys have done a really, really nice job. I think it's the best desktop wallet out there.
And it's so pretty. It's
But
so pretty. I was like, oh, good. Look at
I know,
that.
isn't it? It's so nice. It's so nice. Good props to those guys. They really did a nice job with that. There are probably like a few others, but those are some of the highlights.
Well, what is this conference, just in case I want to apply?
Yeah, so definitely, you should definitely. It's called Crypto Explorers. You can go to cryptoexplorers.org. We're basically sold out for our April trip, but we do have we do them once a quarter, and you show up in Zug, Switzerland, which is like where the Ethereum Foundation is based, where Melonport, Shapeshift, all these guys are based, and we'll do a day and a half there where you meet like the lawyers and the regulators and the government officials, because like what Zug basically is like the spiritual mecca for this movement. And Switzerland's the most decentralized country on the planet. So essentially it's a perfect match. I'm actually working on an article about that right now. But the idea is, you know, you can understand like this is as good a place as anywhere to go to kind of immerse yourself in the concepts of decentralization, because while the ICO cryptocurrency boom is really interesting, exciting, and sexy and whatever, and we all have tons of FOMO. We're all like, why did I sell that? Why didn't I buy that? Like I do that all day, every day. Sure. The bigger thing is how will entire societies and governance structures be totally rewritten? And my hypothesis is if you really want to understand blockchain, you kind of need to understand Switzerland, or that's like the best, closest thing you'll be able to do. Meet all the people doing this, and you're going to meet 35 other people. Spend a day and a half there, then we spend a day in Zurich. You get to do all this stuff. You know, you're hanging out in Switzerland, which is about as easy a place to travel as any place on the planet. It's clean and safe. I mean, it's ridiculously expensive, but whatever. And that's what we do. So yeah, and just you get to meet 40 amazing people, and it's just awesome. So people love it, and we love it.
Matt and I are both all about the revolution, not just the currency part, but that actually primarily that is the most important thing that's happening. And Jeremy Epstein, this has been so lovely. This was better than a shot of espresso ever could be.
Oh my God, you're too kind.
We can find you at neverstopmarketing.com, but where else can our viewers get a hold of you if they want?
Twitter at JER979, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, those are the big ones. I mean, obviously, I'm really honored that you guys gave me the opportunity to come on this. Neverstopmarketing.com/blog. I blog like 5 days a week on this kind of stuff, tweet. But yeah, those are sort of the big avenues. And, you know, just I'm really honored to just be part of this with you guys. And, you know, so grateful that I'd be surprised if anyone's actually still listening at this point. But if they are, thank you to you, our listeners as well.
They are, and they're amazing. These are the listeners that listen.
How about this? Why don't we let's do some marketing testing here. How about if you've made it to this point and what's your guys' Twitter handle again?
Well, we both have our own, but we'll go with @BitcoinandBlock.
Okay, @BitcoinandBlock or @Jared979. Just tweet us maybe with the hashtag something like, what should we say? Like I made it, or still listening, or I don't know. Make up your own.
This is the end.
Yeah, this is the end. Hashtag this is the end. And we will send you absolutely nothing.
Zero tokens.
No tokens. We will airdrop you non-tokens.
Just tons of nudes.
We will send our love.
Find nudes from
we will retweet you. We will send you a retweeter Twitter token. There you go. That's worth nothing.
Yes.
Although Twitter should decentralize itself and have a Twitter token, but that's another podcast for us.
100%. All of them need to at this point
That is
because
true.
we're creating the content for you. So we
That
want to
is
be paid
true.
now.
That is true. Or they're gonna like steam it, and those guys are gonna eat their lunch eventually, and that's.
I'm obsessed. That's all I'm doing now is steam it. I'm like, and everyone, the last few people we've had on the show have totally, yeah, they've re-emphasized the same idea. We want to be paid to view. We want to be paid to create. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so excited to live in this space because I've been creating for free for ages and consuming for free.
I have not cracked the code on Steam It marketing just yet. I will be honest. Like I've started it, but I'm like, some guys are making like $8,000 a post, and I'm getting like 2 cents.
Me too. I got like 30 cents on one video and I was like, yes, I made the big time. And then you go trend and it's like other people are making 7,000. Like this is.
I know. I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
I gotta figure this out. Like there's gonna be a book on, it's like LinkedIn marketing. It's gonna be Steam. Someone's probably already written it by now. Like that would be a great little, that's actually a good thing is like Steam It marketing. I gotta work that into my presentation.
And actually a lot of the people that are doing the best right now on Steam It and Library and Top Buzz and some of those platforms are the ones who are making videos and blogs about how to more effectively use those platforms. Almost all in like the hottest 100 channels have like 5 people who that's what they're doing.
Wait, tell me about Library because I have it. I saw the early version. It definitely has gotten better this time, but
I don't know. I still like Steam It better because I hate the idea of downloading something onto my computer, but I understand that that's like theoretically
right.
long run. I also think you have to actually have some tokens to start. So I see how that's a good idea because then you have to watch a bunch of stuff before you can actually create something. But I kind of feel like you should be able to make videos and content.
Like permissionless type stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I definitely prefer Steam It, but I think if you started getting on Library right now and you started developing a fan base right now, you could take over super fast because there's just not very much good content on there.
Dude, maybe screw the YouTube stuff. I'll just throw like a library channel. That's much more consistent with the brand. No one will watch for the first 6 months, but that's okay.
And there's like one girl right now I think who does a crypto video every day on Library and she's crushing every video. I mean, every video makes like 500, tokens or whatever, but the library tokens are worth quite a bit right now.
You know what? I'm not big on the video. I like writing a lot because
blogs do really well, actually. Blogs do really well.
Well, on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine don't. But they do well in like Medium, they do well on LinkedIn, and they do well on my blog. But for some reason, like the Steam audience and my stuff at the moment, or there's something I'm doing wrong with the way I'm like tagging it. I don't know, but like
because you don't get enough tags, and it's so. I'm totally with you. I'm dealing with the same issues.
I need like
Top Buzz.
What's that?
Have you tried Top Buzz?
No, what is
another one that's like coin centric? And what I really like about Top Buzz actually is that it's built in a more. It just looks good. It doesn't look so sort of like techie, and it has, different colors and sides, and they have a whole GIF section and then like article section and then videos and images, like albums. You can make photo albums. But I think people in this world, as we know, probably from Telegram and all these other things that have been successful, Slack, people love GIFs. So I'm just like anywhere where you can create the ability to bring on GIFs, like that's going to be a hot place, I think.
That's actually, that's really insightful. I wonder if you connect that back to the whole conversation around airdrops. Like instead of getting a token or just like, instead of the developers pushing you, like this is you saying, hey, Jeremy, I'm gifting you a library, like a free, whatever, on-demand video on Library so you can watch it. Like that's value. Because I think like the issue for me with like the airdrops and sort of the paid, pay for play thing that you're talking about, I was like, there's no emotional investment. Like, why do people love Bitcoin so much? Why do they love Ethereum so much? Because they bought into the idea before it was like popular and before it made them a lot of money. Because they're just like, they bought into the brand vision, if you will, right? Satoshi wrote basically a manifesto, a brand man. It was like Jerry Maguire-esque kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's who Satoshi really is. He's Jerry Maguire. Satoshi is Tom Cruise. Okay, we solved it. Problem solved. So like,
he's Bob Sugar, actually.
Exactly. That makes a lot more sense, right? But like, there's no emotional investment. So if you don't make an emotional investment in something, like you're not gonna like believe in it. You're not gonna evangelize it. You're just gonna be like, whatever. It's almost like token based like crypto prostitution type stuff. Like it's just
And
totally.
I think that, how we already have all this like clickbait prostitution or whatever, all this stuff now, right? Where it's like, oh, there's just like farms everywhere. And a lot of the things that the idea of creating something that actually was, you know, viral or something like that, you know, 10 years ago is just that it doesn't exist anymore. A lot of the stuff that it's just not real. And so I was thinking the same thing and sort of looking at Steemit, and, you know, you see people who they're following like 200,000 people and they have like 20 followers. And I'm like, I also don't want to be a participant, and I want to make curated content that like I work on and spend time on, and I want to see other people's stuff that's like that. I don't want to have this space where it's all about having to just click everyone and follow everyone, and like I don't know, I also am super against that whole thing.
You know, I would say like my marketing, you know, Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi from day one is, and it's cliche almost, but it's Seth Godin, right? Like I even shaved my head just so I could look like him, right? So like that's how big of a fanboy I am. But like, you know, he's been preaching the same thing for like 20 something years. Like now I'm actually tired of hearing because it's like the same thing. But like his point is, and it's always been like, just focus on exactly what you just said. And like play your game, do your thing, you do you, right? Like, and just do that and just deliver value and do it one at a time and build those people. And it's like, you see all this noise around you. Like, you guys are going to love crypto explorers. You know why? Like my wife and kids are always like, why do you like doing this? I'm like, because nobody makes you stop talking about crypto after 5 minutes.
I mean, we're all about it. And I want to do it all the time. And I don't want to take any more of your time.
Oh, no.
Enjoy your
I was just going to say.
with your kids. Eat your vegan sandwiches.
Fine. No, I was just going to say, like, this is so powerful for me, like, to be able to hang out with you guys. And, like, you know, when we go out to dinner, my wife, there's literally, if someone asks me about Bitcoin, she now pulls out her phone. There's 5 minutes that I'm allowed to talk. It's like I would go on for an hour. So it's great that we can just talk. Thank you guys so much. Like, please let me know what's out. I'll do it, whatever. You guys are doing a great service, and it's just an honor for me to be here. And hopefully I haven't crushed your subscriber base after this one, but thank you.
We're about to explode. Never stop marketing, baby.
Woohoo, welcome to the movement.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Great content, as always. Appreciate it.
I'm sweating.